right. She was asking if we were kind of getting people to a place of just praying a prayer so that they can go to heaven, or about building a relationship with them and getting them to build a relationship with God Himself. And we're really about helping people interact with God directly. I mean, I would make a really terrible intermediary. I mean, we really want to help people see and comprehend who Jesus is and what Jesus means for them personally in their lives. Learning how to talk to Him, learning how to hear from Him. Because that's what changes a life. That kickstarts a life of discipleship. Yeah. So that's one of the things I'm so excited about, is helping people to meet this Jesus who heals deeply and in an ongoing way.
We have all these students on campus that have this newfound freedom, and they're away from home, and they're experiencing all these new things. How do you get them to go to
Yeah. Well, relationships are key. We build lots of relationships. I'm sorry, I keep forgetting. Yeah, not everybody has a microphone. She was asking, how do we actually get people around Jesus? Because you've got all this freedom. I'm not with my parents. They're not making me go to church anymore. I can kind of do my own thing. So how do we help people get in the room to hear about Jesus? Well, it's about building relationships. It's about building friendships. One of the things that I train the Christian students who I work with on is specifically how to just build relationships with people kind of on the fringes, people who are on the margins. So some of that means simply going door to door, knocking on doors and inviting people to come and do something fun. The first week of being on campus this past semester, in August, we went through one of the dormitories with a couple of Christian students, knocked on doors and just invited every single person in that dorm to come and play manhunt after dark. Running around outside, I mean, they're trying to find a good hiding place. There's plenty of space for building conversations. There's plenty of space for building friendships. And as we build those relationships, that becomes the context for spiritual conversations. You kind of earn the right to invite people to come and meet Jesus. Simply approaching a complete stranger and saying, "Do you know Jesus?" or "Would you like to hear about Christianity's claims?" They're most likely not going to listen to you. At least that's been my experience at your college. But if you put in the time to build a relationship with them, to build a friendship, you've earned the right to speak into their lives. You've earned their trust. And so ultimately that's where it begins, is building relationships. Yeah. Yes, sir?
How many do you have working in your inner circle, and how many people on matters do you have show up for your events?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a couple of answers for it. What's that? Oh, yes. I'm glad you're here, Dan. He was asking how many students do we work with. So I have a kind of an inner core of about 20 or so students who I work really closely with. I train them to lead their peers in studying Scripture. In fact, most of the events that happen on campus with Intervarsity, I'm not even there for. Because I've trained, my main role is training students to serve their peers. So it's that core of about 20 or so students that I work with, I disciple, I train, I give them the tools that they need to lead Scripture study well with their peers and to host events that are engaging. And then, so that's the inner core. There's probably about 100 or 120 or so students who are involved on a weekly basis, who've made Scripture study and worship a part of their regular lives with Intervarsity. And so that's kind of the next circle out. And then there's an even further circle out, the people who are kind of on the fringes of the community, people who were like Bill, who are always kind of beckoning and inviting to come in closer. And it's hard to get a sense of how many people that is. That could be a couple hundred people even. So, yeah. I think that's probably all the time for questions that we have right now. But as I said, I'll be around afterwards, so stick around. If you have any other burning questions, I'd love to talk a little more about it. So thank you so much for your support.